Hey y'all, it's been 2 years since my last time as a teacher. So I think it's appropriate that I give you an update about me quitting the teaching profession. Now, I do want to add this caveat. I didn't necessarily quit the teaching profession. I've quit the public school teacher profession. I actually am a business storytelling coach, so teaching is still in my blood, it's still in my veins. So that said, let me tell you what's been going on in the last 2 years. Y'all, it has been a time. Now, I want to say up front, there have been times that I thought about going back to the classroom. It is something that I know how to do. I did it for 15 years. It seemed like the easiest path with the least resistance to getting money to take care of my family. It's been a little rough out here. I ain't gonna lie. It has been a little rough out here because of a couple of reasons. The pandemic forced me to slow down. I can't talk about other people. It forced me to slow down, but it also gave me opportunities to really learn about myself. And one of the things that I learned about myself is that I truly didn't even know myself. One of the main things I didn't know about myself was that I had ADHD. Yes, y'all. At 41 years old, I got diagnosed with ADHD because your girl has had it all along. And it was one of the reasons why teaching as a profession, as teaching in high school as a profession, was not in alignment to how I was made. So basically, I was telling the truth all along, like that I don't fit, this job doesn't fit me. And it really didn't for the things that actually to me weren't the job. Grading and emails and conferences and planning meetings and blah, 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 blah. The drudgery is actually not teaching. It's not, okay? Let's be very honest and very clear. Now, when I'm in a classroom, heck yeah, man, I was dope. I was an amazing teacher because I was able to, I'm boasting because that's another thing I learned about myself is that, I need to stop trying to be humble because all I was doing was talking down about myself and calling it being humble. But I was amazing at what I did. I helped low performing students realize they weren't dumb. I helped them, for a lot of them, realize that they could do it. I helped a lot of them find their own voice and their own leadership when they used to just follow the crowd. Because, high school is that time, y'all. It's that time. I've had students go from F's to A's. I've had students go from truancy and absence to consistency and presence. I've had students go from low performance on state standard tests to passing exceptionally well. I've had students go from regular class to honors class because I saw my students. I saw a lot of the same struggles that I had, and y'all, I wasn't done by any measure of the word, okay? Because I had a genius IQ. I said had, because y'all, I became a parent and a teacher, and they said that just rots your brain. Both of those things. You get that mummy brain, and all of a sudden your IQ starts tanking, and then, I'm aging. I'm going to admit that. I'm aging. I'm in my 40s now. And, but, and as a teacher, when you are consistently talking to kids and not having that intellectual stimulation, you start to lose some things. Your channels start closing. So that's all to give myself an excuse for why I no longer feel like a genius. But not only that, again, I said, I guess I was what you call twice exceptional. So my gifted people out there, y'all recognize this. You may recognize this, that if you were labeled gifted, you often slip through the cracks. Just because you can do something exceptionally well in one area did not mean that you could actually do something exceptionally well in another. Y'all, math was my thing. Don't ask me why I became an English teacher. Well, I guess you could. I just loved reading and writing. So I was good. Look, I was good at both. I'm really exceptional. I'm very exceptional. I'm a writer and a mathematician. I loved English and math equally. I love science. I love history. I just love learning. But that said, I saw it in my students. You know, we could have those conversations. We could, you know, I just had to make them love reading again. And so we would start all the way from kid stories and looking at them with different perception, like changing the point of view and all that kind of stuff, pulling out the rhetorical strategies that are used inside of kid books and kid literature and start applying them to our own writing. Like, y'all, like, I was creative, and I literally had a principal, and I think I talked about this in the last video. I literally had a principal come and tell me to dial down my creativity. Well, that year, 100% of my students passed the state mandatory test. I guess I did well with my creativity. She told me to dial it down in like April. By then they were taking the test. So I know what I did worked, okay? And then also, which has been a consistent point to my life, is that many people would say that they don't understand my methods because I learn through fun. So I like to teach through fun. If school was boring for me, it was gonna be boring for the kids. So I try to be as fun for myself and as creative for myself as I possibly could. But I could definitely tell you that my love for my strong like for teaching. Now, I'm going to tell you this too. Teaching is my calling. Is why I still do it. I just teach adults now. Adults who are taking their businesses to the next level. Adults who want to learn how to sell without feeling salesy. Adults who want to use persuasive marketing, you know, story marketing, like inviting people into your world through story, and, you know, making that sell, which is actually an offer, an invitation, instead of this pushy, icky thing, right? So I still teach. Teaching is my calling. So don't let somebody tell you that when you quit or that you can't hang or whatever it is, that teaching is not your calling. Listen, the industry is something exceptional. I have another video on here where I talk about how teaching is actually abusive, and it is. I will not lie. I will not sugarcoat it. And I hate when my students go into the teaching industry. I really do. So I just hope they never talk to me about it. Like, what do you think? I'm not going to tell you what I think. Because we do need teachers. We do need amazing people. So I'm not saying that, but I am going to say don't atrophy in the industry. Put that as a hashtag. Don't atrophy in the industry. Get in, spread your gift, make your impact, and get out if you feel like you are losing yourself. The minute you start to lose yourself, it becomes unhealthy. And I will tell you, as part of the update, my nightmares as a teacher stopped. By the way, if I left off a story and I didn't finish it, it's because I have ADHD and I'm not on my medicine. All right, so hopefully I close the loop on everything. I'm trying, but I'm also trying to make this a pretty relatively short video. So as I was saying, it was unhealthy for me. Teaching was unhealthy for me. I had nightmares. I developed anxiety. I was crying at work, in between class, right after work, right as I was driving to work. I was crying, or I was sitting in the car and just having to talk myself to go in. Now, when I went in, oh, it was on. It was banging. You know, I love being with the kids. I love talking to them, reaching them, helping them see I hate to say help them to see their potential, because I don't like to say it that way, but help them see themselves, like help them see their capabilities and that they were more than they may have been told that they were. And I owe that in a way to my 10th grade teacher, Ms. Judy Blanchard. Hey, y'all, at Southridge Senior High in Miami, Florida. So if she's still alive, I haven't kept up with her. Hopefully she is, because I don't think she was that much older. But if she's still alive, she was a very, very impactful teacher on my life, because Even though I got an F, my very first F ever in her class. And the reason I got it was also because of ADHD. I didn't know. Basically, our grades in that first 9 weeks was built on research. And I don't like research. I hate research. I just cannot do it. And outlines, I don't make outlines. I'm not a planner. I don't have the ability to plan. I'm a person who reverse engineers. I need to see what the big picture is, and then I walk backwards from it. That's how my executive dysfunction shows up. I can't envision it forward. I can only walk it backwards. So hopefully somebody heard themselves there. But I ended up getting my very first F. Very, very first F on a report card in her class. And after that, that was like a shot in my foot. I was like, okay. And so I didn't get another one. I think I got like B's because I always fell short due to homework and all that stuff. So I got like B's, I think, for the remaining things. And then I remember in March when she had to decide who was going to AP class afterwards. And she taught AP on top of that. So it was basically, who do I want to see at the next level? And she had a conversation with me. And she said, I think you can do it. Yes, she had an F in the first 9 weeks, but I think you can do it. And because of her, I'm going to tear up. Here they come. I'm not going to let them fall though, okay? But because of her, I know what it's like to have a second chance. Because of her, I know what it's like to have somebody believe in me and not tear me down in their belief. It wasn't, you're such a crappy student, but I think you can do it. It was, I think you can do it, period. I think you got it. I think you can do it. And I worked really hard the very next year to make sure I didn't let her down. Did I get an A? No, I don't get A's. I got B's. Dang, and I quick caveat, because ADHD, that was a setup, because in 3rd grade, I tried really hard to get straight A's, and I got all A's and 1 B, and I think from there, I was just like, F it, F it. But anyway, and every year I say, I'm gonna get straight A's, and by that first 9 weeks, it was like a no. All right, as long as I don't get less than a C, because to me, a C was failing. But anyway, back to that. So I knew what it was like having a second chance. I knew what it was like having somebody believe in you. I knew what it was like being positively built up, not just negatively built down with negative reinforcement or whatever. And I didn't really have that in my life. So she was that person for me and has always been that person for me. The 15/16-year-old in me is very, very grateful to who she is. And because of her, I brought that to my classroom. Oh my God, I didn't plan to cry. But because of her, I brought that to my classroom. And I think that's what helped my students. And that is also why I stayed so long. Because I knew year 1 that the job wasn't for me. I knew year 1 that the job wasn't for me, but I kept going. And years 5 through 8, it was like great. But then after that, they started giving me the harder students, which I would build up, and they would do well. And then they're like, oh my God, you're our strongest teacher. So the next year they gave me the harder students. And I always had the same course 6 times a day or 6 times a week. And it was just so boring to teach the same thing over and over and over again. I hated it. That's when I really started hating it. That's when, I'm closing the loop, y'all. That's when I started falling out of strong like for it. And then all the outside stuff, all the non-teaching stuff began adding anxiety. And my administrators, because of my ADHD, I was time blind. So I would never get to work on time. I would ask to not have a first period so that I could get to work on time and I could get to work and not affect my students. And they staunchly refused to listen to me because, again, I didn't have an ADHD diagnosis. So I didn't know that this was actually part of my executive dysfunction. I didn't even know what executive dysfunction was. And so they created anxiety for me. And that anxiety, trying to be a single mom, trying to do all the things, trying to get my kids to school, and that would cost me my time, all of the things that I felt like I was failing because I didn't know myself. Closing another loop. I didn't know myself. So they gave me depression. They gave me anxiety. I didn't know I had anxiety till I watched a student-produced video on YouTube. There was an assignment that some student at some school had, and it was a black girl who did it, which was important too, because anxiety seemed to be like a white woman thing. It was, listen, if you're not exposed, you just don't know. But it did, because white women were always like, I'm on this pill, I drink wine. I'm like, why? What's wrong with you? like, what's so terrible about your life that you have to do this? And I've learned a lot since. So guys, please don't think that I hadn't learned better. I did. I know a lot. I know that women are just, of all races, nationalities, and cultures, are just the other side of the coin of each other. Our experiences look the same. I mean, look different, but are the same a lot of the time, you know? That's a whole nother video. So maybe I'll save that for another time, because I just want to wrap this up in the next couple minutes. But that said, whenever I went to the doctor as a female, so this is kind of like an update on teaching, but this is also an ADHD awareness for you females out there. You mothers, you teachers out there. I just kept getting a depression diagnosis or an anxiety diagnosis. And I'm like, I don't have depression. Yes, I'm crying, but this isn't a chemical thing. And I finally, thanks to TikTok and the pandemic and social media, I started seeing myself reflected in Dani Donovan. You should go find her, D-A-N-I. Donovan, D-O-N-O-V-A-N, and Dani Donovan's cartoons that she was drawing, her comic strips. I started seeing myself reflected, my experiences, and I'm like, wait a second, I think I have ADHD. And then I researched it, and I learned ADHD is hereditary. Well, guess what? My two sons, my earlier sons, had ADHD. And then the more I learned, the more I realized my third son, my youngest one, my 8-year-old, he had ADHD. So I went and got my diagnosis thanks to that. And my psychologist, I think that's what they're called, psychologist, psychiatrist, I never remember which, she told me there's a such thing as situational depression, meaning that there's a thing that justifiably makes you depressed. So I didn't have chemical depression, I had situational depression. And she listened to me, and then she tested me. And on my test, I came up mild ADHD. There's no such thing, y'all. There's no such thing. But I came up mild ADHD because I love tests, and I love games, and I love challenging myself. So I'm doing the little, how many times do you see the X or whatever it is? Like, hit the space bar. It's such a dumb test. They need to change this test because it doesn't really accurately depict your focus, right? Because ADHD is more than focus, one. So my brain, some of y'all may have this, but my brain is able to split tasks. So I did quite well on not hitting the X or whatever it is on the game, while also noticing, hey, that van is a real pretty color. Oh my gosh, what did I have for dinner? Oh man, did the kids do their homework? Did I upload it? Oh God, I don't want to go back to work, but I think I need to get more income. So y'all, I'm having 1,000 thoughts while nearly accurately getting this test thing right. You know, occasionally I'd be like, wait, hold on, I just zoned out. So that's why I got mild. But my room, my disorganized room, my time blindness, all that stuff started adding and saying, hey, this isn't a mild thing, right? And then the other thing about the teaching and the anxiety is I would always try to be on time. But then the anxiety of doing that would catch me, and all of a sudden I have to run to the bathroom, and now I'm 30 minutes late. So anyway, and then I had my first anxiety attack. And then, as an update, I didn't quit in May of 2020. I actually quit September 2020. And I quit in September because I saw the buses returning, and I had a panic attack. And I went to my principal and I said, if the students walk back in here, I'm quitting. Because I was trying to get the ADA, I was trying to work from home, I was trying to hold on to that job, y'all. Even though I told you I was gonna quit, I knew I needed to take care of my family. I was trying to hold on to that job. And when those buses came, I just couldn't. And so I did quit, because they dragged their feet with the ADA. And they were doing that on purpose because they wanted all teachers back in class. So since then, I have found myself, I found my voice, I found what it is I love to do. I love to help people see the strength in themselves and to throw off the shoulds of society and start creating the life that they actually love. And it usually starts with their story. So that's what I do. And that's my update. And I hope if you feel like quitting, you think about who you really are first, because that makes it a heck of a lot easier. But also, if it's costing your health, your mental health, then sometimes you just got to take that leap. And that's okay. What I would ask you to do, though, is wait at least until the school year ends. And I will say one reason is for the kids, because of how disruptive it is, or at least wait until Christmas break. Wait until there's a good enough time for transition. Let me say it that way. If you can't wait for the school year to end, wait until there's a good time for transition. But I ask you to do that, like I said, for the kids, but also for yourself, so that you can start stacking some income once you make that decision. I also ask you not to do it on a whim, because that might force you to thinking that you have to go back. Like I said, I did it 3 times. I quit 3 times. And even still, for the first year, I kept thinking about going back. Actually, even through this year, I thought about going back because I wasn't honest with myself. But I'll tell you what, I got very strong in my prayer life. I did prayer journals. I prayed to God. I listened for answers. And every time it was like, you can't go back. Because, y'all, my health improved. I don't have anxiety attacks. I'm on the correct medication for my ADHD. And I think I'm at the correct dose now. And I'm on a stimulant, guys, because I don't have depression. So that non-stimulant stuff just doesn't work. It made me a zombie. I hated it. It added to my depression and my anxiety. I'm on a stimulant. And it's great because I don't get jitters or anything, because I really have ADHD, y'all. I really have ADHD, so I don't have jitters from it. It just makes me feel normal, whatever normal might feel like. I can have a thought, I can execute it. Like, for instance, I just told myself to get up. And y'all see, it took me 10 minutes to get off this video. But if I was on my medicine, I would have been like, all right, y'all, that's it, peace. You know? But anyway, to wrap this up, I don't have nightmares. I don't have anxiety. I don't have depression. I don't even get depressive thoughts. I do get sad. But I still was like, I was taking my time building my course, which is called Brand Story Magic, which is super dope. You can check out some trainings on here and see if that's something you might want to consider doing for yourself, joining for yourself. But so I did think about that, but like I said, I had a prayer life and God just kept telling me no. And then one day I heard, if you do it, it won't be blessed. I was like, okay, all right, I think I'll still do it. And that same day, the kids in Texas, there was a school shooting. And it was like a reminder of the other thing that caused me anxiety every single day. And it's those things. It's being afraid unconsciously, subconsciously, being afraid of every time the door opened, every time a new student came, every time there was a fight, every time a kid opened a locked door in a stairwell, every time there was a book bag, every time there was defiance, just every time. I don't need that kind of anxiety in my life. And I feel a little ambivalent about it because I do send my kids to public school. They're learning, they're being social, but I am not going to be sending them, probably, we'll see, because I want a world school. I likely won't be sending them from middle school. So I just pray over them every day and pray that they're safe. And then I'll be taking them out. Get that established foundation first, and then we can go learn about the history without the books, without the fictional history that's taught. I love you guys. Y'all, if you're a teacher, understand that I get you. I get you. I get you. And I'm with you. And I will tell you, don't do one more year if it's costing you. But make your plan. Because right now, this video is being done in September of 2022. If you have walked in there and you said, this got to be it, make your plan. Make your plan. Start stacking. Start saving. Start going to therapy. Start, if you think you have ADHD, making that appointment and trying out the meds until you find the one that works for you. And maybe it'll help you stay in the education system. It might. Or maybe it'll help you find your own way out. Start doing the things that you're putting off, essentially. And that's what happened after I quit for the final time. I'll always be a teacher. It's always in my blood. But bye-bye to the public school classroom.